Mara Bell heard the scissors before she felt them. A lock of her hair fell onto the Belladonna ballroom floor, while Luca Moretti's fiancée smiled for 200 guests. No one moved. Not the donors, not the guards, not even Luca, the man who owned the hotel and believed a transfer check could erase what his fiancée had done. Mara left before dawn, taking only her coat and the little linen ledger nobody knew she kept. By sunset, a locked floor opened twice, without authorization. 3 trusted men vanished from their posts, and Luca discovered that the woman they called disposable had been quietly protecting his empire for years. But when he found her, Mara was already holding a ticket out of the city, and the last entry in her ledger carried his fiancée's initials. Luca Moretti found the first broken rule before he found Mara. The security screen showed a rolling cart draped in fresh white linen, a dark curl of hair lying across white marble. Mara Bell standing beneath the Belladonna ballroom chandelier with one hand pressed to the side of her head. Celeste Varga holding ceremonial scissors as if they were a champagne flute. Celeste had laughed first. "You should be grateful I improved it," she said. Mara did not cry. She looked at Celeste once, then at him. Not with a plea. With the flat, measured look of a woman who had just learned exactly what a man believed she was worth. Then she removed her staff badge, set it on a nearby table, and walked out through the service door. Luca followed her into the corridor. "Ms. Bell," he said, catching up near the freight elevators. She stopped, but did not turn. "I will have human resources arrange paid leave. You do not have to arrange anything for me." Then compensation. That made her face him. Her hair was uneven at her shoulder, one side still pinned for a gala she had never been invited to attend. "You think this is about a number? It is about making this right." "No," Mara said softly. "It is about making it go away." So he made the mistake powerful men made when silence exposed them. He offered more. A transfer to another Moretti property, a year's pay, a private apology from Celeste. Mara listened without interrupting. When he finished, she said, "You saw what she did." "Yes. And you waited until the room stopped watching before you spoke to me." Luca felt the truth of it settle between them. She nodded toward the ballroom doors. "You do not need a maid who accepts your money, Mr. Moretti. You need to ask yourself why everyone in that room thought she could do it." Then Mara left. By dawn, her locker was empty. Her name had disappeared from the overnight schedule, and the Belladonna began to reveal how much of its order had belonged to her. The first failure looked small. A VIP suite ran out of pressed towels before breakfast. The second was harder to dismiss. 2 carts meant for the private elevator arrived with the wrong color tags. The third reached Luca's desk at noon. A sealed service pantry outside the council floor had been opened, with a code that should have expired 6 months earlier. His operations director, Victor Lanza, blamed a software update. "Reset the permissions," Luca said. "We have," Victor replied. "The doors are still reading old access." Luca looked through the glass wall of his office at the hotel below. The Belladonna had been designed to look effortless. Flowers appeared before guests noticed an empty vase. A private conversation never crossed the wrong threshold. He had always believed that was management. He was beginning to understand that much of it had been Mara, not because she was a maid, because she paid attention to things everyone else had trained themselves not to see. At 2 o'clock, Luca went to the laundry level himself. The room smelled of steam, starch, and industrial soap. A younger attendant was struggling with a cart list, while 3 employees argued near the sorting racks. No one noticed Luca until he spoke. "Where is Mara Bell?" The argument stopped. A woman named Rosa, who had worked there longer than most of his executives, folded a towel with deliberate care. "She quit." "I know that." "Then why are you asking us?" Luca looked at the blank space above the work table, where a weekly routing board used to hang. "Mara kept a schedule there," he said. Rosa gave him a tired look. "Mara kept 6 schedules there." Victor crossed his arms. "Housekeeping has standard software." Rosa did not look at him. "Software tells you what was ordered." Mara knew what should not have been ordered. Luca turned to the sorting racks. Near the rear door, one cart carried a tag marked C17. The code meant charity suite. Luca knew it because Celeste used it whenever the foundation booked rooms for visiting families. But the tag was dated for the previous night. There had been no foundation guests. He touched the corner of the paper. It had been cut from a larger sheet, not printed by the hotel system. "Who prepared this?" he asked. No one answered. Victor stepped forward. "Probably a temp." Rosa's mouth tightened. Mara would have caught it. That was not an accusation. It landed like one anyway. Luca took the tag to the security office. The camera record showed the cart entering the private elevator at 6:14 p.m. A minute later, the camera feed blinked black for 12 seconds. When it returned, the cart was gone. Victor stood behind Luca's chair. "Someone is creating a distraction," he said. "From what?" Victor hesitated. "The council vote." Luca turned slowly. The vote was 48 hours away. Only 7 people were permitted on the 32nd floor during the meeting. And now someone had tested a route into it. "Lock the floor," Luca said. "Already done." "Lock it again." Victor made the call. Luca watched the elevator log refresh on the screen. Then another entry appeared. C17, private elevator, 32nd floor, authorized by a foundation override. This time, the route was scheduled for the following morning. "Who has that override?" he asked. Victor answered too quickly. "Celeste's office." For a moment, Luca said nothing. He remembered Celeste in the ballroom, smiling as though humiliation were a gift she had the right to give. He remembered Mara saying, "You need to ask yourself why everyone in that room thought she could do it." Then Luca picked up his phone. "Find Mara Bell," he told his driver. Victor looked relieved. "Do you want her brought back?" Luca's gaze stayed on the false linen tag. "No." He paused. "And nobody goes near her without her permission." By the time his driver found Mara, she was standing in a quiet train station with one suitcase at her feet. A Chicago ticket rested in her hand. She did not look surprised when Luca approached. She looked tired. "I said I was leaving," she told him. "I know." "Then do not make it harder." Luca stopped several feet away. For the first time since he had met her, he had nothing to offer that sounded like a solution, so he told the truth. "Someone used a false linen route to enter my private floor." Mara's expression changed. Not fear, recognition. "You saw C17, she said. Luca nodded. Her eyes dropped to the ticket in her hand. "That code should have been retired last winter," she said. "Why?" "Because the room it belongs to does not exist." Mara held Luca's gaze for a long moment. Then she folded the Chicago ticket once and slid it into the pocket of her coat. "A ghost room is not a locked room," she said. "It is a room that exists only on paper." Luca waited. She looked at the station clock. "My train leaves in 40 minutes. I will not keep you from it." "Good." Her voice stayed calm. "Because I am not coming back to be your maid, and I am not coming back to be your secret problem solver. You will not be either." Mara studied him, as if the answer mattered less than the cost of believing it. "C17 was created for a foundation renovation 2 years ago," she said. "The room was never built because the contractor lost the permit. Celeste kept the code? Someone did." She shifted the strap of her suitcase higher on her shoulder. "Every fake suite needs a printed tag, a service route, and someone who makes the people at the end of the route stop asking questions. Can you tell me who that is?" "I can show you where the route starts." Luca took out his phone. Mara lifted one hand. "No calls yet." He put it away. "The laundry depot has a retired intake closet behind the old loading bay," she said. "If that cart went through your elevator, somebody reopened the closet and built a chain around it. Will you show me?" Mara gave a faint laugh without warmth. "You heard the part about not being your employee?" "Yes." "Then listen to the rest." She stepped closer, though she still kept an arm's length between them. "If I walk into that hotel, I walk in as an independent witness. No one speaks over me. No one searches my bag. No one touches my schedule, my phone, or my body. And Celeste does not come within 10 feet of me." Luca did not hesitate. "Agreed. You do not get to agree for her. I do where my hotel is concerned." Mara's expression sharpened. "Your hotel is the reason she thought she could do what she did." The words hit harder because she did not raise her voice. Luca nodded once. "You are right." For the first time that night, he did not add an excuse. Mara looked down the tracks where the Chicago train would arrive. Then she placed the suitcase beside a bench. 1 hour, she said. After that, I get back on this platform. Minutes later, Mara stood beside a foundation-tagged bin at the laundry depot. Victor appeared at the far end of the corridor. "Mr. Moretti," he said. His eyes went to Mara. The relief in them vanished. Victor reached for the bin list. Mara stepped between him and the paper. "Do not touch it," she said. "You are overstepping. I am preventing the first person who wants this explained away from contaminating the one thing we can still verify." Luca could have ended the moment with one command. Instead, he asked, "What do you need?" Mara looked at the list again. Photographs, timestamps, and someone from security who is not Victor. Victor gave a short, angry breath. "You cannot be serious." Luca called the security captain directly. "Bring a sealed evidence envelope and meet us at loading bay 3. Then he looked at Mara. "Anything else?" "Yes," she said. "Rosa." Mara asked Rosa, who had access to the old intake closet. Rosa named 4 people. Then she stopped. "There was a 5th, she said. "Who?" Luca asked. "Celeste's assistant, Nadia," Victor answered, before Rosa could continue. "Nadia handles foundation deliveries." "Not laundry routes," Mara said. "Not after-hours routes." Rosa nodded. "Mara told me that last month." Mara looked toward the loading bay. "I told you something else, too." Rosa's eyes narrowed as she remembered. "The roses. They were coming through the closet every Thursday," Mara said. "White roses, 2 tablecloths, bath sheets, and a silver tray. Enough to make a room look occupied when a stranger opened the door." Luca understood. The false suite was not being used to hide people from the hotel. It was being used to make people believe a hidden meeting belonged there. The security captain arrived with the evidence envelope. Mara watched him photograph the paper tag before anyone lifted it. Then she led them past the loading ramps to a narrow door painted the same gray as the wall. The lock had been recently polished. Mara touched it with one finger. "Someone cleaned around the handle," she said. "Not the whole door." Victor scoffed. "That proves nothing. It proves somebody expected fingerprints where they should not be." Mara pointed to the floor. A thin trail of white lint led beneath the door. "Open it," Luca said. The captain entered a code. The keypad flashed red. "Access denied," he said. Mara did not look surprised. "Because the old closet is no longer listed as a closet." She bent near the baseboard and pressed a concealed service latch. The door released with a soft click. Inside, the space was dark, except for a light strip along one wall. There were no shelves, no cleaning supplies, only a folding table, a rolling cart, and a freshly made bed beneath a white coverlet. A polished silver tray held 2 water glasses. Victor swore under his breath. Luca stepped inside and stopped. The room was small, but it had been arranged with care. A framed Belladonna Foundation welcome card stood beside the bed. The signature at the bottom read, "Celeste Varga." Mara stayed at the doorway. She did not touch anything. "There," she said. Above the bed, a brass service panel was set into the wall. Luca followed her gaze. "It connects to the private elevator shaft." "Not directly," Mara said. "It connects to the linen lift that runs beside it. They moved carts through here, then transferred people where the cameras could not see." The captain photographed the panel. Victor took a step toward the tray. Mara caught his wrist before he could reach it. Her grip was quick and firm. "Do not." Victor looked down at her hand. "Let go of me." Mara released him at once. "You are not taking the card," she said. "It is evidence now." Luca saw something shift in Victor's face. Not guilt, calculation. It lasted less than a second, but Mara saw it too. She moved closer to Luca, not touching him. "Mr. Moretti," she said. Her voice had gone low. "The person who used this room knew I would recognize it. And they knew I would be gone before anyone believed me." Outside the closet, a phone began to ring. Victor looked at the screen and silenced it too quickly. But Luca had already seen the name. Celeste. Celeste's name on Victor's phone changed the air inside the hidden room. Victor slipped the phone into his pocket. "It is probably about the gala," he said. Mara looked at the prepared bed, the polished tray, and the foundation card bearing Celeste's signature. "At this hour?" she asked. Victor did not answer. Luca gave the security captain a quiet order. "Take Mr. Lanza's phone for preservation." Victor's face hardened. You cannot take my private property because a maid has a theory. Mara's shoulders went still. Luca heard the word he had failed to stop in the ballroom. This time, he did not allow it to pass. Because an independent witness identified an unauthorized route inside my hotel, he said. And because you tried to touch unlogged evidence. Victor looked between them. You are letting her run this building now? No, Mara said before Luca could speak. I am showing you where it has been left unguarded. The captain placed Victor's phone in a numbered evidence pouch. Victor did not resist. That worried Mara more than anger would have. She watched his hand fall to his side. Then she turned to the service panel above the false bed. Pictures are not enough, she said. The person behind this will say the closet was staged to embarrass Celeste. Luca looked at the welcome card. What would be enough? The original route record. Where is it? I do not know. Victor gave a humorless smile. Then we have wasted an hour. Mara looked at him. No. We learned who is afraid of paper. Rosa appeared in the doorway with a metal keyring in one hand. Her gray cardigan was buttoned wrong, as if she had dressed in a hurry. I remembered something, she said. After the renovation was canceled, the route binders were moved to the linen archive. Victor's eyes flicked toward the hall. Only once. But it was enough. Mara saw it. So that is where we go, she said. Victor remained near the door with the captain beside him. Even if you find an old route, he said, it proves nothing about what happened now. Mara did not look up. It will prove whether the current route uses an old pattern. And if it does, then someone did not invent this scheme last night. She found the binder after 7 minutes. Dust marked the shelf where it had been removed recently. The spine read Foundation Temporary Access. Mara opened it on the center table. The first pages held plans for the abandoned renovation. The next pages listed temporary passes, linen transfer hours, and a handwritten note that the C-17 route must be retired after the permit failure. At the bottom of the page was a signature, not Celeste's, Victor's. He stepped forward before he could stop himself. That is routine approval. Mara raised her eyes. Then why was the route reactivated without a new approval? Victor said nothing. Luca leaned over the page. The old note included a second instruction. All future C-17 materials had to be logged in a manual turnover ledger because the room did not exist in the hotel software. Mara's expression shifted. My ledger, she said. Luca looked at her. The one you took when you left? No. Mara closed the binder. The one I hid because Victor told me to stop asking questions. A long silence followed. Victor gave a thin laugh. You hid company records? I copied my own work notes, Mara said. I kept them because every time an order disappeared from the system, someone told me I had imagined it. Luca felt heat rise behind his ribs. How long has this been happening? Since winter. Why did you not come to me? Mara looked at him with no cruelty in her face now. That was worse. Because I watched what happened when I spoke up about smaller things. She glanced toward the hallway. People were moved. Schedules changed. And the person who caused the problem was invited upstairs. Luca had no defense. He had built a place where complaints had to climb too many stairs before they reached him. Mara had been at the bottom of all of them. Where is the ledger? He asked. At my apartment. Victor's expression relaxed by a fraction. Mara noticed that too. But it is not safe there now, Luca said. No, Mara replied. It was safe before I walked back into this building. Her phone vibrated in her coat pocket. She read the screen and went pale. The message came from a number she did not recognize. It contained a photograph of her front door. Below it were 6 words. Chicago trains leave whether you board them. Luca saw the message when she lowered the phone. His voice went quiet. Do you want protection? Mara looked at him. You mean guards outside my apartment? If you want them? And if I do not? Then you choose another arrangement. The answer surprised her. Not enough to earn trust, but enough to make her think. My neighbor, Mrs. Delaney, is home alone, Mara said. She lives across the hall. Luca turned to the captain. Send 2 plainclothes officers to the building. Mara lifted a hand. Not officers. Not anyone who makes her think she is in danger. The captain waited. Mara chose each word carefully. Send someone to check the building's fire alarms and someone else to inspect the elevators. Tell Mrs. Delaney the city requested it. Luca nodded. That is what we will do. Victor watched them with an expression that had become unreadable. Luca faced him. You will remain in the security office until counsel arrives. Victor's mouth tightened. You believe her over me? I believe a system that leaves a trail, Luca said, and I believe I should have noticed it earlier. When Victor was escorted away, Mara exhaled slowly. The sound was not relief. It was exhaustion. Luca looked at the hidden closet key in her hand. Your train left 20 minutes ago, he said. I know. I can get you on the next one. Mara gave him a tired, almost amused glance. You still think every loss has a replacement. He accepted that too. I am learning. She held the key out to him. He did not take it. It belongs in evidence, she said. Then give it to the captain. Mara did. The small choice mattered. Luca could see that she had expected him to reach for control. Instead, he let the system record her action. A call came through the captain's radio. The technician at Mara's building had found nothing wrong with the elevators, but the hallway camera had been unplugged, and the door to Mara's apartment stood open. Mara did not move for one terrible second. Then she said, "The ledger is gone." Mara said, "The ledger was gone," but she did not raise her voice. That frightened Luca more than panic would have. Panic could be answered with movement. Mara's stillness meant she was counting every reason she had been right not to trust his world. The captain sent a vehicle to her apartment. Luca did not tell Mara to stay behind. He asked, "Do you want to go there?" "Yes." "Then we go." Inside Mara's apartment, nothing looked broken. That was the point. The sofa cushions were straight. The framed photo of her mother remained on the shelf. The kitchen light was off, but the air carried a sharp scent of lemon cleaner. Mara walked past the living room and stopped at a narrow cabinet beside the radiator. She touched the shelf behind a stack of folded sheets. Empty. They knew exactly where to look, she said. Luca stood at the doorway. Was the ledger there? It was inside an old pillowcase. Why that place? Because nobody notices laundry until it is missing. The sentence stayed with Luca. It was not about a pillowcase. It was about every time the hotel had depended on her without seeing her. The captain returned from the hallway camera panel. The camera was unplugged at 7:42, he said. Your building entry log shows a Foundation courier arrived at 7:39. Mara looked up. Nadia. We cannot identify her from that alone, Luca said. No, Mara replied. But she knew I kept a ledger. Her phone rang. Celeste's name appeared on the screen. Mara did not move to answer it. Luca did not reach for the phone. After the third ring, Mara picked up. Ms. Bell, Celeste said. Her voice was gentle now. It made Mara's mouth tighten. I hope you understand how sorry I am. You are calling from a blocked number, Mara said. I am calling because Luca has turned a misunderstanding into an accusation. You cut my hair in front of 200 people. Celeste exhaled. I was upset. You were comfortable. Silence answered her. Then Celeste said, Your ledger is not worth what you are giving up. Luca looked at Mara. Celeste continued, Take the Chicago job. I will make sure you have a glowing recommendation. You will have a new start, and Luca can stop making your life difficult. Mara's fingers tightened around the phone. You entered my home. I sent someone to collect property that belongs to the Belladonna. No, Mara said. You sent someone because you are afraid of what it says. Celeste's tone cooled. Be careful, Mara. You do not belong in this. Mara looked toward the open door, where Mrs. Delaney had left a small plate of cookies on the hall table. She thought of Rosa at the laundry depot, of young attendants who would be blamed if the system failed. Then she said, That is exactly what you said in the ballroom. She ended the call. Luca spoke after a moment. She wants you gone. She wants the people who trusted me to stand alone. You do not owe them your safety. No, Mara said. I do not. That answer mattered. Luca could see she had hurt him. He could also see that she was not yet deciding to stay. The Chicago recruiter called an hour later. Her name was Beth Klein, and she had been trying to reach Mara since the previous evening. Mara took the call by the window. The offer had not changed. A supervisory role at a restored lakefront hotel. A furnished apartment for 3 months. A salary that would let Mara breathe without calculating every grocery receipt. Beth needed an answer by morning. Mara thanked her and said she would call back. When she ended the call, Luca was sitting at the far end of the sofa. He did not ask what the job paid. He did not tell her what the belladonna could offer. "What do you want?" he asked. Mara gave a tired smile. "You really do not know how to ask small questions, do you?" "Probably not." She walked to the cabinet where the ledger had been hidden. "I want a place where doing my job does not make me a target. That is reasonable. I want to know that when a woman says someone hurt her, she is not treated like an inconvenience to be relocated." Luca looked down. "That should have happened for you last night." "Yes." A knock sounded at the open apartment door. It was Rosa. She held a worn canvas laundry tote against her chest. "I came as soon as I heard," she said. Mara stood. "Rosa, you should not be here." "I am retired in 6 months," Rosa replied. "I have been scared for 30 years, and it has not made me safer." She placed the tote on the table. Inside was a bundle of old uniforms. Mara stared at them. "The old blue jackets," she whispered. Rosa nodded. "You told me once that you stitched a second lining into yours after the payroll office lost your cash tips." Mara's hand flew to the hem of the dark blue jacket hanging by the door. She had worn it to the gala because it was all she had left clean after an overnight shift. The jacket was still there. She pulled it down and opened the inside seam with trembling fingers. A small plastic sleeve slid into her palm. Inside was the linen turnover ledger. Luca looked at Rosa. "You knew?" "I knew Mara was smart enough to keep one copy where thieves would expect it," Rosa said, "and another where only a seamstress would find it." Mara held the ledger close for one breath. Then she placed it flat on the table. She did not hide it again. "Call the captain," she told Luca. "Photograph every page." Luca reached for his phone, then stopped. "May I?" Mara nodded. The ledger was small, but its pages carried months of dates, handwritten room codes, delivery times, and initials. C-17 appeared again and again. Beside each entry was a notation Mara had used for years. A simple black thread drawn through a square when a delivery had arrived without a valid guest name. There were 23 black thread marks. Each one corresponded to a foundation event. Each one carried Nadia's initials, and 6 of them carried a second mark, CV, Celeste Varga. Luca read the final page twice. The last C-17 route was scheduled for noon tomorrow, the same hour as the council vote. The false suite was not an escape route. It was an entrance. Someone planned to bring an uninvited buyer into the council chamber before the family could vote. Mara closed the ledger. "You can stop it now," she said. Luca met her eyes. "Will you help me explain it?" "I will explain what I wrote." "And after?" "After, I call Beth in Chicago." Luca nodded. "Whatever you choose, I will not interfere." Mara looked down at the ticket in her pocket. Then she looked at Rosa. "Get some sleep," she told her. "Tomorrow is going to be loud." By noon, the Belladonna council room was full. The door opened. Mara walked in first. Celeste looked at her uneven hair and smiled. "Are we delaying a family vote because housekeeping has a grievance?" Luca did not look at Celeste. "This meeting is delayed because the private floor was compromised." Celeste turned to Mara. "And she is the authority on that now?" Mara set the sealed ledger on the table. "No," she said. "I am the person who noticed it before anyone with authority bothered to look." Enzo Moretti leaned back. "This is a serious accusation." "It is a serious record," Mara replied. She opened the ledger to the first black thread mark. "My job was to track linen turnover for private floors. Every legitimate delivery has a guest name, a room number, a time, and a staff handoff. When one is missing, it leaves a gap." She tapped the square crossed by black thread. "This is how I marked a gap." Celeste laughed softly. "A private notebook is not evidence." "No," Mara said. "Not by itself." The captain placed the archive binder, the C-17 tag, the foundation card, and the phone report on the table. "The ledger tells us where to look," Mara continued. "The hotel records tell us whether I was right." Celeste's smile disappeared. "You are interpreting laundry marks as conspiracy." "No," Mara said. "I am interpreting repeated work that someone made invisible because they assumed the person doing it was invisible too." Celeste looked to Luca. "Tell them this is absurd." Luca stayed silent. She turned another page. "This is the entry for today. C-17 was scheduled at noon, not to bring linens upstairs. To bring Adrian Vale through the private service route. A murmur moved around the table. Vale was buying debt connected to the port expansion. If he entered the room before the vote, he could pressure council members with information taken from the hotel's private floor. Celeste stood. That is a lie. The captain opened a folder. Mr. Vale was detained at the loading entrance 11 minutes ago, he said. He was carrying a Foundation access card and a C-17 delivery schedule. Celeste's gaze flashed toward Victor. Victor's attorney placed a hand on his arm. Too late. The chain was clear. Victor had approved the old route. Nadia had run the deliveries. Celeste had used the Foundation seal. Celeste turned to Mara. You think this makes you important? No, Mara said. This proves I was important before you decided I was not. No one in the room looked away. Celeste reached for the ledger. The captain stepped between her and the table. She stopped. Then she aimed her anger at Luca. You are going to let her destroy everything we built? Luca looked at her at last. What you built used staff members as cover. It used this hotel as a weapon against people who trusted us. You destroyed it when you made that choice, Celeste's voice sharpened. And what about her? You will put her in charge because you feel guilty? Luca looked to Mara. This time he waited. Mara closed the ledger and stood beside it. I do not want a title handed to me because he feels guilty, she said. I want the work to stop being invisible. I want every service worker able to flag an irregular route without losing a shift or a paycheck. I want the right to stop a movement when the log does not match the door. Enzo frowned. That would give a hotel employee power over council access. Yes, Mara said, because the people who had power over council access were not doing their jobs. No one answered. Luca placed a document on the table where everyone could see it. Independent Operations Director, he said. Full audit authority over private floor service routes. Authority to hire an independent compliance team. Authority to suspend unlogged access pending review. And direct reporting rights to outside counsel. Mara read the document without touching it. Who can remove me? She asked. The outside counsel and a 2/3 council vote, Luca said. Not me. And if I resign, your audit findings remain protected, and your position cannot be filled by a family member for 5 years. The council froze the port expansion, opened an independent investigation, and removed Celeste from Foundation authority. Victor was escorted out with his attorney. Celeste left without a word. After the room emptied, Mara placed the ledger in the evidence envelope herself. Then she called Beth in Chicago. Thank you for the offer, she said. I need 1 week. I am asking whether a week changes your answer. Mara listened. Then she smiled. Thank you. Luca did not ask what she had decided. The offer is still there, Mara told him. I am glad. I will meet with an attorney and talk to the night staff. Then I will decide whether this hotel deserves the work it has never valued. That is fair. She turned toward him. You are not going to ask me to stay. I want you to have a reason to choose it, Luca said. Not a reason to fear leaving. Mara considered him. Apologize in the ballroom, she said, in front of the people who watched. I will. A week later, the ballroom was full again. Luca apologized publicly to Mara, Rosa, and every worker whose warnings had been ignored. He announced the Independent Operations Charter and stepped away from the microphone. Mara entered in a midnight blue dress of her own choosing. Her attorney had approved the contract. She signed it at the same table where Celeste had tried to make her small. The applause began with Rosa. Luca approached and stopped a respectful distance away. Director Bell, he said. Mr. Moretti, she replied. Would you have dinner with me sometime? Only if you want to, he added. Mara studied him, then nodded once. One dinner, she said. Somewhere with no staff waiting on us. One dinner. Mara walked beside him toward the ballroom doors. She was not rescued. She was not purchased. She had been heard, and from that day forward, every door in the Belladonna had to answer to the woman they once believed was invisible. If dignity had been taken from you in public, would you leave for the safer life, or stay long enough to change the system that failed you?